In this video, we're going to go over the best attachments for the FFAR1, giving you the stat breakdowns for all of them to let you know which ones are the best, especially after this new Season 2 update. If you enjoy videos like this and weapon stat breakdowns, weapon comparisons, and overall tips and tricks for Warzone, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any new content, and we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. Also, click the link in the description down below and follow us over on Twitch. Getting straight into it, we're going to look at the muzzles first. So for the muzzles, it will quickly run over what all the pros and cons are. We didn't test certain aspects of them, and we only tested recoil mainly, so that is what we actually tested here. But we'll quickly run through all the pros and cons first of all. So with the muzzle brake, you get a pro for vertical recoil control, so we'll take a look at that in just a moment, and then no cons. For the flash guard, you get vertical recoil control and aiming stability. For the suppressor, you get sound suppression, which is of course quite obvious, but you get a con to your effective damage range and as well as your bullet velocity. Then the infantry compensator gives you vertical recoil control but a con to your horizontal recoil. The SOCOM eliminator gives you vertical recoil control again, aiming stability, but it gives you cons to your ADS firing movement speed, your shooting movement speed, and your horizontal recoil control. And then lastly, the agency suppressor. This needs to get fixed soon. Obviously, like I said, Raven Software have tweeted this out, that they're going to fix the agency suppressor and revert it back to give you bullet velocity as well as damage range. But at the moment, it does give you a pro to your sound suppression, vertical recoil control, but it does affect your damage range as well as your bullet velocity. So you might want to stay away from the agency suppressor until they fix that attachment, because those are huge cons you're going to be getting. But let's take a look now at the recoil chart for all of these attachments. And what you can see here is that we've done this recoil chart at 15-meter distance. The base weapon is on the very left. Then we have the muzzle brake, then the flash guard, then the suppressor, then the infantry compensator, the SOCOM eliminator, and the agency suppressor. And keep in mind, all of these attachments say they give you a pro to vertical recoil control, and then most of them give you a con to horizontal recoil. Besides the suppressor, that didn't mention any pros to recoil at all. But what we can see here overall, from the looks of things, in terms of vertical recoil, the attachments that actually seem to be doing the best here are definitely the agency suppressor as well as the SOCOM eliminator. They seem to be helping the most with vertical recoil. The suppressor actually seems to be doing some kind of vertical recoil control. But then if you take a look at horizontal recoil overall, the infantry compensator seems to be doing a decent job at horizontal recoil, and so does the agency suppressor. So if you're trying to negate the horizontal recoil as much as possible, the infantry compensator or the agency suppressor would be the best two attachments here. But let's keep in mind that the agency suppressor does give you that bullet velocity as well as damage range con, so maybe the infantry compensator would be the best attachment in this case. Now, after looking at the pros and cons for the muzzles, it seems as if that the SOCOM eliminator would have done the best because it also gives you aiming stability as well. But after looking at that recoil chart, it's quite clear that the infantry compensator is doing a decent job at vertical recoil as well as horizontal recoil. Now, the vertical recoil is not as good as the agency suppressor or the SOCOM eliminator, but it's definitely the one I would choose to go for. So the next attachments we actually tested were the Underbarrel attachments. Now, only 3 of the Underbarrel attachments actually help with recoil. So that's the foregrip, the field agent grip, and the SFOD speed grip. Most people are going to be using these 3 attachments. The other ones help with like hipfire accuracy and overall movement speed. So let's take a look at the recoil chart for all of these 3 recoil controlling attachments. Again, this was done at a 15-meter distance, so it was done quite a far bit away. And on the very left, we have the base recoil chart for reference. We then have the foregrip, the field agent grip, and the SFOD speed grip. Now, the best 2 attachments are definitely the SFOD speed grip and the field agent. And as you can see, the field agent definitely helps with that vertical recoil, and it helps significantly with horizontal recoil. But the SFOD speed grip helps the most for horizontal recoil with the FFAR1, and I would rather have a little bit extra vertical recoil to remove as much horizontal recoil as possible. Now, this part is definitely going to be down to personal preference. Some people might prefer the field agent, some people might prefer the SFOD speed grip. So now going back to look at all the other pros and cons that you get with each of these attachments. So the foregrip, like I said, gives you horizontal recoil control, but with no cons. So it does give you a decent control to your recoil, but without any cons in this case. So the foregrip could be a decent attachment option. The infiltrator grip gives you overall movement speed. but then hurts your sprinting movement speed. Not a lot of people will use this attachment. The Patrol Grip gives you overall movement speed. Again, not a lot of people will use this attachment. And then the Bruiser Grip does help with hipfire accuracy, so some people might choose to use this, and it also boosts your movement speed, and it doesn't give you any cons. So this could be an overall decent attachment, but like I said, the most popular ones will be the recoil controlling ones. The Field Agent Grip, and another reason why I wouldn't choose this, even though it does help with recoil significantly, it does give you a con to your ADS firing movement speed and your firing movement speed, and that is probably one of the reasons I wouldn't choose to use the Field Agent Grip here. And on top of that, the SVOD Speed Grip does do the best in terms of horizontal recoil control. But then if you look at the SVOD Speed Grip, it does give you faster sprinting movement speed. It also gives you the best horizontal recoil control. And then the con is just to your regular running movement speed. So in my opinion, the best attachment here is the SVOD Speed Grip, but it could be argued that the Field Agent Grip is great here too. So the next attachments we need to take a look into here is the barrel attachments. Now the main thing we focused on for the barrel attachments was bullet velocity. Now some of them do affect damage range and they do affect it very significantly, but we never actually tested that. We only tested bullet velocity so far. We might make a follow-up video going over damage ranges. But first what we'll do is quickly go over the pros and cons of each of these attachments. So for the ultralight barrel, you do get a boost to your damage range, but you then get a con to your sprinting movement speed. The Cavalry Lancer gives you an effective damage range bonus, but no cons. The reinforced heavy barrel gives you effective damage range boost and a bullet velocity boost, but then it gives you a con to your sprinting movement speed and your aim walking movement speed. The Ranger Barrel gives you a bullet velocity boost and then a con to your aim walking movement speed. The Takedown Barrel gives you no cons, but you do get a pro to your bullet velocity as well as your strafing speed. And then the Task Force Barrel gives you an effective damage range bonus, a bullet velocity bonus, a strafe speed bonus, but then it hurts your vertical as well as horizontal recoil. And that is why not a lot of people are using the Task Force Barrel anymore. Now on screen now, you will see the bullet velocity values as well as the percentage increase in terms of the bullet velocity for all of these barrels here. So for the ultralight barrel, you get a 608 meters per second bullet velocity, which is exactly the same as the base bullet velocity for the weapon. Then you get a bullet velocity of 608 meters per second for the Cavalry Lancer as well, which again is the same as the base bullet velocity. The bullet velocity for the reinforced heavy barrel is 806 meters per second, which is a 32% increase. That is a huge bonus to your bullet velocity there. Then for the Ranger Barrel, this gives you the most significant bullet velocity increase at 58%, and it brings your bullet velocity to 961 meters per second. Then the bullet velocity on the Takedown Barrel is 763 meters per second, which is about a 25% increase. And then lastly, you do get a bonus to your bullet velocity with the Task Force Barrel as well, which is 806 meters per second, which is the same as the reinforced heavy barrel. So in my opinion here, if we try to get rid of some attachments, you would not use a Task Force Barrel because you do get a con to your recoil control, and you need to control the recoil as best as you can with the FFAR. So the Task Force Barrel is definitely out. The Ultralight Barrel gives you an effective damage range bonus, which is a decent bonus to have, but at the cost of your sprinting movement speed. But effective damage range is only good if your bullet velocity is good. So having that bonus to the effective damage range is not that useful unless you're getting a boost to your bullet velocity. And then the exact same thing goes for the Cavalry Lancer as well, even though you don't get any cons in this case, but you do need that bullet velocity increase like I said. So now with the reinforced heavy barrel, you get a bullet velocity increase, which is very significant, and you also get a damage range increase as well. So the reinforced heavy barrel is definitely a very viable barrel for the FFAR1, and a lot of people might actually choose to go with this barrel. But remember, you do get a con to your overall kind of movement speed. Then for the Ranger Barrel, you get the best bullet velocity, so a lot of people would probably choose to go for this barrel as well. And you do get a con to your aim walking movement speed. And then my personal favorite is the Takedown Barrel. Now, you don't get the best bullet velocity, but you're going to be mainly using this at close range. But then you also get that strafing speed, which you definitely need with the FFAR1, and a lot of people love having that strafe speed with the FAR. And you don't get any cons as well, which is definitely great to see. So with the FFAR1, it's kind of hard to pick any particular barrel, but the Reinforced Heavy, the Ranger, and the Takedown Barrel are all three very viable barrels for the FFAR1. So the next thing we actually tested here was the ammunition attachments, and we mainly tested them for reload quickness and also the aim down sight speed. So for the 38 round mags, you get a reload time of 1.9 seconds, which is the exact same reload time as the base weapon. And then the aim down sight time is 233 milliseconds, which again is the exact same as the base weapon. So you are getting a larger magazine with no cons whatsoever, which is exactly what it states, which is pretty cool. Moving on to the jungle style mags, you do get a reload time of 1.6 seconds now, which is definitely a bit faster than the base weapon. And then the aim down sight time is exactly the same as the base gun. Then the reload time for the 38 round speed mags is 1.5 seconds, which is the fastest reload time you can get on the FFAR1. But you do get a con to your aim down sight time by a couple of milliseconds, so that brings it to 250 milliseconds. Then for the Stanag 50 round mags is a reload time of 1.9 seconds, but then you do get an even bigger con to your aim down sight time at 267 milliseconds. Then the reload time on the SAS mag clamp again is the fastest at 1.5 seconds, but then you still get that significant con to your aim down sight time at 267 milliseconds. And then lastly, the best attachment, and it's the same reason why everyone's been using this for such a long time now, is the Salvo 50 round fast mag. You do get the benefit of that fastest reload time, you do get the benefit of the 50 round mag, but you don't get any cons whatsoever, even though it does state a con to your aim down sight time. The aim down sight time is exactly the same as the base gun. When it comes to the ammunition attachments on the FFAR1, it's pretty much a no-brainer. The Salvo 50 round fast mags are the best. There's no con to aim down sight time, you get the larger mags and you get the faster reload. The last and final attachments we tested were the rear grip attachments. Before we get into any stats for these, I do recommend staying as far away from these attachments as possible. It turns out that they all actually give you a con to your aim down sight time, which is insane. So for the speed tape, your aim down sight time increases to 249 milliseconds. The base aim down sight time for the FFAR1, as you recall, is 233 milliseconds. The drop shot wrap increases your aim down sight time to 262 milliseconds. The field tape doesn't do anything. The aim down sight time on the SARS jungle grip gives you the biggest con at 266 milliseconds. And then the last two attachments give you a con to your aim down sight time at 258 milliseconds. So again, I wouldn't really use any of these attachments, stay away from them as much as possible. So now that we've covered all of that, we're going to quickly equip all of the attachments that we said were the best so far. So for the muzzle, we did mention the infantry compensator was the best, but like I said, you could use the agency suppressor as well if you really wanted to. Then for the underbarrel, we went for the SFOD speed grip, but again, both the field agent grip and the SFOD speed grip are both really good attachments. I just personally prefer the SFOD speed grip. The ammunition attachment was a no-brainer. The Salvo 50 round fast mags was the best. But then for the barrel, it's really up to personal preference here. Like I said, the reinforced heavy, the ranger barrel, and the takedown barrel are all very viable options. I do believe most people will go for the reinforced heavy barrel because you do get the damage range increase and the bullet velocity increase. So I'm going to equip that one for now. But like I said, the other two are definitely viable options as well. The laser attachments do actually help with like hip fire accuracy now, which is really good, and effective damage range as well, which is really weird. So they do boost your damage range, but it's not a significant enough bonus to use any of these attachments in my opinion. I do recommend using a stock because the one thing a lot of people love having is that faster strafing speed, and not only does the SFOD speed grip boost your movement speed as well, the SAS combat stock as well as the Raider stock will do the same for you as well. And in my opinion, I do think that the Raider stock is the best stock for the FFAR1. And if you do want to watch a video all about that and which stock is the best and breaking down the stats for it, like I said, I'll leave a link to that at the end of this video. But I'm going to choose the Raider stock for this. I do think it is the best stock for the FFAR1. And there we have what I believe to be the best FFAR1 class setup. Like I said, there's a lot of different variations you can do of this class setup. So there's a lot of different options there in terms of swapping out certain attachments because a lot of the attachments are viable on this gun. But if you enjoyed this video and learned something new, don't forget to subscribe to the channel as we're trying to reach our goal of 10,000 subscribers. Also, click the link in the description down below and follow us over on Twitch. Tomorrow we will be live streaming for sure. We've just been really busy doing a lot of testing on all these new weapons and all the new weapon changes. And thank you very much for watching.